What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode, and we are here for round number 13 of Season 5 of our Jaguar Racing career. We're going to be at the Hungarian Grand Prix. We are coming off the back of the French Grand Prix, where despite our best efforts to grab a podium and beat Lando Norris, we could only manage 4th. Nonetheless, we still have had 3 wins and 4 podiums in our last 6 races, which is really good form that we're currently riding in. We haven't had a result lower than 5th since Azerbaijan as well, which, you know, I was a bit worried at the start of the season. First 5 races didn't go so well for us. We only picked up a few points here and there. We had 1 podium in 5 races, which wasn't really good enough to mount a championship chance. But here we are now, just 17 points off the top spot with another 11 races still to go. We have every chance in the world to take the lead of the championship and try and beat Lando Norris to the punch this season. Obviously, he beat us in the final race of the season last year to the championship, so this time we're trying to get one back on him. We have an opportunity to improve Jack Doohan, our teammates' focus, and so we're going to do exactly that. We've re-signed him, and immediately he repaid us by getting knocked out in Q1 in France, which was not what I was expecting to see. He's just been on a really torrid run of form recently, and I'm hoping that sooner rather than later he will be able to turn it round with a good result. Maybe that could be here this weekend in Hungary, who knows. But this is a race that typically is pretty actually good for me. I was going to say isn't great, but in recent times, I've actually found that this track goes better for me than I expect it will. It's not one of my favourite tracks on the calendar to drive, but in terms of my performance here compared to the AI, I'm usually there or thereabouts when it comes to you know, general pace, qualifying performance, and it's quite a difficult circuit to overtake at. There's only really maybe 1 or 2 spots, I would say, that are typical overtaking positions. And so for that reason, it's not particularly easy for the AI to go for overtakes on you here. And I'm hoping that as a result of that, we will be able to hold them back a little bit, and hopefully we can contend for victory here. That would be the ideal scenario, but it's a long way to go before we get to that point. First things first was practice, and we had a really poor session actually. You see all these drivers here in the 114s and 115s. My best time on the mediums was in the 117s, so my pace wasn't very good. But I did realise that I actually wasn't running a setup in practice. I forgot to put it on, but I did manage to change that in time for qualifying, which is now where we are headed. So yeah, we will have the setup on for qualifying. And so, despite the fact that I've not done any practice with this setup, I'm still optimistic that we can contend for a good position here in qualifying as we get ready to go out on the track. And we are here on the fresh soft compound tyres. It's our first run in Q1. We'll see what kind of time we can do as we come up to the line. It is a 1:15.0. It puts us P3 for the time being, beaten out only by the 2 Mercedes drivers. So I think I can be pretty happy with that as a first run on this setup, and we will see if we can improve on it in our second run. Now, it was only marginal gains actually, only a couple of tenths in the end as we come around the final corner. We're going to cross the line. It's a 1:14.8 this time, and whilst that was good enough to see us through to Q2, it was only in P10. So clearly some improvement was going to be needed here if we were going to want to gun for pole position. Meanwhile, Jack Doohan, P6, good result from him. Piastri went fastest in the session. Liam Lawson's up there in P8, a solid result from him. The 2 Mercedes were down there in 11th and 12th. Knocked out here was Kevin Magnussen, a little bit of a surprise from the McLaren driver. You don't usually see him out in these sessions. And he joins Sergeant Joe De Vries, Hulkenberg and Stroll. No real surprises from that contingent, but yeah, Tsunoda making it through over Magnussen is perhaps the biggest talking point of this session, I would say, and even beating out Fittipaldi as well, who is in a faster Williams. Fittipaldi so far not really getting on top of the newfound pace in the Williams, but we will see what we can do now in Q2 as we go out on a used set of soft compound tyres to kick things off. It's a 1:14.7, so our fastest lap of the weekend on a used set of tyres. It bodes well, however it was only 13th fastest at this stage of the session, so clearly some improvement was going to be needed if we wanted to make it through, and you can see we are currently still 13th as the session has closed off now. So, oh actually no, we're in 14th as Leclerc improves there. So yeah, we're going to need a big improvement here if we want to make it through to Q3. Albon goes fastest with a 1:14.0. We're not going to be close to that. It's going to be a 1:14.2. Actually closer than I thought then. And that puts us P4. Wow, it was just a very close field, I guess. Not much to separate most of the cars on track. We'll see what the exact gap is now. Yeah, you can see Russell was less than 5/10 off of Albon, but he's been knocked out. Doohan made it through in P7, solid result from him. Knocked out was both of the Red Bulls of Russell and Perez. That's going to mean their championship chances take a bit of a hit. We say goodbye to Lawson and Fittipaldi and the Williamses as well. Ocon in the Alpine and Tsunoda, the other Alfa Romeo. He did make it through, but was half a second off the nearest car in Q2. Not really surprising. Fittipaldi managed to turn it up a bit of a notch from where he was in Q1, but still not quite enough to make it through to Q3. So yeah, both those Williams knocked out, but I'm sure that we will see them try and come back and make a push for points in the race. Same with the Red Bulls as well, quite frankly, because, you know, Russell is still kind of a championship contender, I would argue. So we make it through to Q3 now. It's a 1:14.6 on the used tyres, and well, I was definitely optimistic about our chances of contending for the sharp end of the field, but we're currently sat in P10 here as the session comes to a close. Norris has done a 1:14.3, but we are on course to beat that at the moment as we're improving by almost 0.5 of a second, and as we come into the final corner you can see that the gap has extended to over 0.5 of a second. So where is this going to put us? We're going to be down into the 1:14.0s, and is that good enough for pole position? No, it's P2 once again. Once again we have been denied pole position. I wonder who went faster than us this time.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Doohan, Robinson and Carlos Sainz. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Well, I will comfortably say that of all the people to get pole position that aren't me, that's the person who I would most like to get it. Jack Doohan takes pole position. He will be starting from P1, leading home a front row lockout for Jaguar Racing, which is also nice to see. Norris, meanwhile, all the way down in P7. This race is going to present a great opportunity for us to make up ground on the championship, and we will see what we can do as we get into the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Button, Hill, Alonso and Kovalainen, the names of the drivers who had their breakthrough in Budapest, winning their first Grand Prix right here. We're in the northeast of Budapest for the race today then, at the 2.7 mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Jack Doohan lines up on pole position and Robinson completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Verstappen, Albon, Leclerc, Norris, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Hauger, Russell, Perez, Ocon, Fittipaldi, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Joe, De Vries, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. Let's talk about Robinson. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances. But what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another good race today.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
Natalie Pinkham noticing the consistency, definitely. Haven't finished outside the top 5 since Azerbaijan, which was, what, 8 races ago now? So, yeah, we're looking pretty good. I was just playing about with the strategy here a little bit. You know, this is the undercut meta of Formula 1 at the moment. Very, very easy to gain lots of track position. And at a track where, like Alex Jakes in the intro said, it is notoriously difficult to pass here. I'm hoping that if we can get ourselves into a strong position, maybe into the lead, we should just be able to defend all the way home to the checkered flag in 35 laps time. But it's not going to be easy, and we will see whether we can do that. As we almost go into the back of Doohan there on the formation lap. That would not have been a good way to lead home what I believe is the team's first front row lockout in qualifying, actually. So yeah, very desperate for us to try and bring this home. If we can get a 1-2, that would be the ideal scenario, but we will see how things play out. There's a few cars starting on softs. I think we'll have to keep an eye out for drivers like Albon on the soft compound tyre, and we will see whether he can make his way through the field or not. But it's time to find out what we can do with the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've had a very good getaway. Doohan got bogged down there. He's going to lose multiple positions off the back of that. He's fallen already down into third. Will Verstappen get him as well? It looks like he probably will. And Doohan, a chance to get his first podium in Jaguar Racing, is going to be taken away from him quite cruelly from that poor start potentially, unless he can get back on top of Verstappen very quickly. Sainz was challenging us on the run down into turn 1 as well, but we've managed to hold him off for the time being. But I'm getting a bit squirrely at the moment. I'm kind of all over the track. You saw that Sainz was looking for a move around the outside of this fast-flowing left-hander, but he couldn't quite make it work. We've got onto the curb there a little bit. That's one of the most lethal curbs in the entire Formula 1 calendar, in my opinion, because you know, you get on that inside curb just a little bit too much, it will put you into a spin. But I've managed to avoid getting involved in that kind of accident this time around, but I need to make sure I don't get onto that curb too much going forward. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, he's going to go for another look up the inside here as we come on the run down to this corner. I love to talk about an incident that happened in Formula 3 a few years ago now between Leclerc and Crawford. It was a very weird incident where I think it was Leclerc on the inside just absolutely wiped out Crawford because he tried to send one up the inside at that corner. It's a ballsy corner to overtake at, but if you can get the car slowed down in time, it is a very good opportunity to make an overtake there. In any case, we are leading the Grand Prix out of the first lap, which is pretty good. And you can see as we come through this corner now, we're going to look at Alex Albon, who I guess we'll never know whether the strategy was key for him or not, because he is out of the race, and that is the first retirement from the Grand Prix. The Thai driver, Alex Albon, he is out of the race. Very disappointing for him, and especially disappointing considering, you know, he's just getting further and further away from that championship challenge at this point, and this will do him absolutely no favours. So, yeah, now we've just got to try and get our head down. If we outscore Norris by 15 points here, which we're currently on course to do, that will put us 2 points behind him in the World Championship. But Sainz is going to try and do his best to deny me making that gap close as he tries to go for an overtake, not only up the inside but also around the outside as we squeeze him off the track there. I mean, look, that was not a particularly clean move from me, but if you've seen the way that some F1 YouTubers race against AI, you can probably give me that one. And it's Verstappen now who is in P2, probably as a result of me pushing Carlos Sainz off track, to be honest. But yeah, it's Verstappen now piling the pressure on. You saw he went for a bit of a half-hearted move up the inside on that occasion, and now I imagine he might have another look down the inside as we come on the run down to turn 1 as we start lap 8. But so far we're almost a quarter of the way through this race, and I would say that we are holding on pretty nicely to the lead, but it is going to be very difficult to defend this for another 27 laps. So as we make our way to the end of lap 8 now, you can see that Verstappen is much closer on this occasion, and he is going to go for a move up the inside. He's a lot further ahead of me, but we're going to try and send it back around the outside through turn 1. Can we get the better traction on the exit? He's going to have the DRS on the run down here as well. 2 DRS zones here in Hungary, of course. We're going to try and send it up the inside of Max Verstappen this time, but we have to leave him the racing room, and so he's going to stay with us. But as we come round the corner, that is going to make Verstappen kind of nullified, at least for the time being. But let's see if he tries to come back at me as we make our way through lap 9 now. This was a really, really hard fight between myself and Verstappen, but it seems like he's going to try and go for another move up the inside here as we get onto lap 10 now. And there's still so many laps to go. Doohan, meanwhile, he's trying to make a move on Carlos Sainz, and I think he's managed to make it stick, actually. So Doohan back into the podium positions at the very least, but it's going to take a bit more of an effort from him if he wants to get up into the lead of the race. But he has actually overtaken Verstappen there as well. So the next car that's going to try and put pressure on me is going to be my teammate, Jack Doohan. He started on pole. Here he goes up the inside for a move down into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick? I'm going to try and hold on around the outside of him. And I don't want to hold him up too much because I'd like him ideally to stay in at least P2 so we can lead home the team's first 1-2 in Formula 1. You know, we really should have had one by now, but unfortunately I've just not had the teammate been able to be firing on all cylinders in the same weekend that I am for us to lead home a 1-2. But Jack Doohan, he's a lot closer this time. He's going for a move up the inside, and I don't have the tyre grip to fight him around the outside this time. So Jack Doohan is going to take the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. He started on pole, he fell down into P4, and on lap 12 he retakes the lead of the race as we defend from Max Verstappen. We push him out wide. Carlos Sainz makes the move up the inside on Max Verstappen, but he gets damage in the process and he will be coming into the pits at the end of lap 12. We need to keep an eye on him because if he's changing his front wing and going onto a set of hard compound tyres, he might be going to the end of the race, and Carlos Sainz could potentially be a contender for victory here all of a sudden. The undercut meta is especially strong around here. We're pitting in a couple laps time. I'm not going to deviate from that strategy, I've decided, but certainly I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos Sainz mounts a bit of a challenge on us. We're going to try and squeeze Max Verstappen to the inside as we go through the first few corners of lap 13, and we've managed to hold him off. But is he going to go for another move up the inside here through the fast flowing left-hander? That was never going to work out. You have to be fully committed to that if you want any chance of making that move work. But Jack Doohan, meanwhile, has taken the lead by quite a significant margin. We make our way onto lap 14. He's over 2 seconds out in front, and this is Jack Doohan's race to lose at this point, I would say. And we are once again being hounded by Max Verstappen. He's so desperate to take this P2 off us. He still thinks he can win this race, and I admire that tenacity from him, but we are going to dive back up the inside of him, push him out a little bit. Someone's coming up the inside, having a bit of a look. It's Lando Norris. He's made his way into P3, and all my antics with other drivers here have allowed Lando Norris to make a move for P2 in the race. He tried to get past me. I said, no thank you. I'm taking the racing line here. And Lando Norris, all of a sudden, he is a lot closer to me than he was before. But lap 15, we are going to be coming into the pits, and we are going to be going for an undercut on the other cars around us. We've got Jack Doohan 5 seconds up the road. Will the undercut be powerful enough to undercut my teammate? And if so, I'm sure he will be feeling especially aggrieved that he didn't get preferential pit stop strategy, given that he did have pole position at the start of the race and was leading the race up to this point. We turn into our pit box very late there, actually, and we're fortunate to only do a 2.3 second pit stop. I think I basically left it as long as I could before I could turn in there. And we make our way out in P11, but look, Carlos Sainz on the soft compound tyres is 5 seconds up the road from us. However, seeing him on the softs made me feel a little bit easier because it means that he's probably going to be pitting again in this race. So we don't have to worry about him too much. But who we have to worry about now is Sergio Perez, who started in this race in, I believe, P11 or P12. The Red Bulls were 11th and 12th at the start of this race. They're right on the back of me now, at least Perez is. And if they're going to make this undercut happen as well, it could be both Red Bulls competing for a podium position here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. And that would be a hell of a recovery from these guys. Sergio Perez going for a move around the outside, and so far nobody has been able to make that move work on me. Whether they go around the outside, whether they come up the inside, they're just not able to do it. But Sergio Perez is going to go for another move up the inside here on lap 18, and a bit half-hearted from the Mexican driver, and we don't really have to worry about that one too much. There's a few cars coming into the pit lane on this occasion, including it is Piastri, one of the Aston Martins. I think that's Hauger, but I could be wrong, and Norris as well has come into the pit lane. Oh, it's Verstappen, it's not Hauger. So Verstappen has pitted, we're ahead of him. Norris has pitted, and we're comfortably ahead of him. He's lost quite a few positions here by the looks of things. There's a McLaren, I believe, of Magnussen who's undercut him, and also the Williams of Enzo Fittipaldi has undercut him as well. So all of a sudden, this is turning into a bit of a disaster for Lando Norris, who the pit stop strategy, this medium hard pitting on lap 18 or 19 strategy has not worked out at all. Jack Doohan is going to come out several positions down on where he was before the pit stop as well. So Jack Doohan probably not going to be winning this race now. Disaster for the Australian driver who was leading up until the pit stops, and clearly the soft medium was the optimal strategy to be on here, unless you're me and you pitted earlier because you foresaw this kind of thing coming. The undercut is too powerful here as George Russell goes for a look up the inside. He hits me because he goes a bit too deep into the corner, doesn't get the car slowed down quite quickly enough. I think he's managed to avoid damage there, but George Russell, that was a very audacious attempt at an overtake on that occasion. Meanwhile, you can see we are 3.5 seconds down on Carlos Sainz, so his soft compound tyres are really starting to go off now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be coming into the pits very soon for another tyre change, probably going on to a set of mediums to the end of the race, or maybe another set of softs, or even a set of hards, who knows. 13 laps, it's, you know, you can basically get away with any tyre compound when it's about that length. So we will see what Carlos Sainz decides to do as we make our way towards the end of lap 22 now. George Russell's going to go for another move up the inside, and he's hit us again. I can't believe that. George Russell, he's just going for really, really tight moves on the inside, and they're not working out for him. There is a yellow flag because there's a car stopped on track behind. I'm not sure who that is. Maybe we will get a bit more light shedded on that in a second, but you can see that Carlos Sainz has come into the pits, and we are going to retake the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. With only 12 laps to go, we're looking pretty good to hold on to this one this time, so maybe, just maybe, we will be able to hold on and win the Hungarian Grand Prix, but there's still another 12 laps to go. Anything could happen. We'll see now what happened with the Williams. This is Liam Lawson, who was actually, I believe, in the running for points here, and yeah, you can see he's being overtaken by the Aston Martins, the McLaren of Oscar Piastri, I believe that is, and he retired from the race. And then shortly afterwards, on lap 25, this is Lando Norris coming through this sequence of corners, and you can see that he does exactly what I said was a possibility and spins out. I think he touched the inside curb there, and he goes spinning into the barrier, tapping his rear wing on the barrier. I think he managed to keep going, but despite the fact that he's managed to keep going, there is still a red flag because I guess there was debris on the track or something like that. Lando Norris, he has brought out the red flag, and not only that, but he's also lost a ton of positions, and suddenly we are looking good. If we can hold on to at least P2 in this race, we will take the lead of the championship. So this is going to be a very nervy 8 or 9 laps for me now. We're going to be going on to a set of mediums to the end of the race, and wow, I am very, very anxious. My heart was pounding when I was doing this earlier because I was like, I know how important this is. The lights go out once again, and we have had a good getaway compared to Russell, and Perez is falling down the order. He's had a poor start. Magnussen has had a good start. Lots of cars on softs here. I'm not sure if mediums were the play. Maybe we should have chosen a set of softs instead, but I was a bit worried that they were going to go off towards the end of the race. Magnussen, might I add, started all the way down in P16 after penalties were applied. So Kevin Magnussen has made his way all the way from P16 to a podium position, and we are being absolutely hounded by George Russell through these first few corners. He's going to try and go around the outside, but once again we've managed to hold on there. We made a bit more contact, but I have managed to hold on to the car and not get any damage. This is Lando Norris riding on board with him, and you can see from where he hit the wall, he went spinning into the wall, hit his rear into the barrier, and I think he got rear wing damage from that. So Lando Norris, he is spinning about all over the place now. It is an absolute disaster for the championship leader, and we cannot let this slip. We do not let this slip, and we are going to try our best to hold on for the next 8 laps of the race. George Russell is going to be hounding us all the way. Our former teammate Kevin Magnussen is going to be hounding us all the way. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, he's not had a very good season so far. Can he contend for the win? Enzo Fittipaldi, my other former teammate, riding in the lofty highs of P5. He's never finished on the podium before. Could he challenge for a podium here today? And where is Jack Doohan? Where did it go so wrong for the Australian driver starting on pole position here? He's currently running in about P10, I believe. It's a disaster for him, but it is absolute bliss for us at the moment, as with only 7 laps to go, we have a real opportunity to hold on to the lead of this race. And as we make our way onto lap 30, you can see, as we look on the mini-map, there is a car that has spun out here, and of course it is Lando Norris struggling with that rear wing damage. We are lapping him. We are lapping the championship leader. He is having an absolute disaster, and he's going to make my life even easier for me as he brings out a safety car. That means I'm going to have another 2 laps where I don't have to worry about anything, basically. You know, I don't have to worry about Magnussen going for a move on us, taking the lead of the race. Magnussen, of course, he has won a Formula 1 Grand Prix before, but only one. He had one victory in France in the second season of my career back in 2024, canonically speaking, in the Haas no less, when the Haas was a actually fairly strong car for a period of time. Kevin Magnussen was able to find victory in France. That was what impressed us enough to eventually sign him a few seasons later, but now we find ourselves in a position where he's in the McLaren. We did a swap between him and Doohan because I thought Doohan would be the stronger of the two drivers, but Magnussen is the one that is hounding me for victory here. It's going to be 3 laps. I'm going to have to hold back my former teammate and see if he's going to go for any kind of move, any kind of challenge. We're burning the battery on the run down to turn 1. Is he close enough to go for a move into turn 1? No. We've held him on the safety car restart. There will be basically no DRS for the rest of the race because the DRS is not going to get enabled until lap 35, but there's no detection point until the very end of lap 35, that means. So there's basically no DRS to the end of the race. And what has that meant? As we make our way onto lap 35, we have held onto the lead. Magnussen has not put the moves on us whatsoever. He's just been following behind us. He's trying to consolidate this P2, I guess. P16 to P2. It's a very strong result, but imagine how good P16 to P1 sounds for Kevin Magnussen. For me, it is P2 to P1. For Enzo Fittipaldi, it's about P15 to P5. It's an amazing result for the Brazilian driver, all things considered. And George Russell as well has come up from P11 or P12 to get on the podium as well. So everyone here having a really strong race, but none more so than myself as I make my way through the final few corners. Kevin Magnussen is not going to have an attempt to overtake me. The line comes up way too quickly for the DRS to have any kind of effect on the standing of the race. We don't spin it out of the final corner, and as we come on the run to the line, we are going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Natalie, fill us in. What was it that helped the team achieve their success today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
And it was a difficult race. There was relentless pressure from so many cars, from Sainz, from Verstappen, from Doohan, from Perez, from Russell, and finally from Magnussen. But at the end of the day, it is me who takes victory here. Magnussen comes home in P2, and it is Russell completing the podium. That will be decent for his championship chances, but he's still a long way down on myself and Norris, and we will see how the rest of the season unfolds. Who is going to be the champion after the next 10 races? We will have to wait and find out which of us it is going to be. Can anyone else get involved? We'll have to see.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Robinson takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Robinson.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. No change in the top spot, but with today's points, their hold on the lead is getting weaker. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So it has been 13 out of 23 races in the season now, 10 to go, and for the first time this season I have taken the lead of the Drivers' Championship. I don't intend to lose it, but we have a fairly difficult run of tracks coming up for me now. Belgium, it's not a bad track for me, but it is one I struggle at a little bit, so we will have to see how that one goes. It could be good, it could be bad. I won't know until we get there. And then, of course, there is Zandvoort, which again is a track that is very up and down for me. Sometimes I have strong results there, sometimes I struggle to get in the points there. Monza, again, very up and down. Sometimes I get good points, sometimes I don't get any points. And then, after all that, we finally get to Japan, the crown jewel of the Formula 1 calendar for me, because that is the circuit where I don't lose. I've won it 3 or 4 times already in my career. No, it must be 3. I think I've won it 3 times already in my career, and I'm very intent on adding to that tally once again here in my 5th season in Formula 1. And yeah, really until that point, it is all just going to be about making sure I can maximise the result I can get in every single race, not doing anything stupid on strategy, not making any silly mistakes, making sure I can get good qualifying performances to put me in the best stead. You know, they are difficult tracks to hold position on, and you can see in a lot of these races just how hard I fight to keep the AI behind. So who knows where I will end up in the next 3 races. Definitely one of the hardest parts of the Formula 1 calendar for me, and crucially, we don't have a Singapore circuit where I often look very, very good on this year's calendar to make up for it. No Austin either, which is a circuit that I tend to go quite well at in my experience. So yeah, we're going to have 2 of my strong tracks on the calendar missing from the end of the season here. The only American race that is on the calendar this year is Vegas, and I mean, that one is always chaos. We tend to go quite well there just because we survive all the chaos of Las Vegas, but yeah, there's still a lot of tracks where I tend to struggle quite significantly, and for that reason the season could go literally any way. I don't know how this season is going to play out. We're only 8 points ahead of Lando Norris. Is that going to be enough to make up for the fact that I'm going to be probably coming into a tricky run of races for myself? Will Lando Norris continue having issues? Who knows? Because this race, certainly, he had a very, very tricky time of things. Mercedes generally had a very tricky time of things, scoring no points, allowing us to close up to them quite significantly in the Constructors' Championship, but we're still a long way down on them. So we're going to have both myself and Doohan delivering strong performances to the end of the season if we want to get that. But next up is Belgium, and that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.